Alright, I'm back from London, and after a few days of living the high life in the murder capital of the country, I am now back in the good old north, bringing you quality content. Oh, and I'm really ill, so do bear with me guys. I mean, would I provide you anything else but quality content anyway? So today's subject has a rather direct link to London, and that is Boris Johnson. I mean, you did read the title of this video, didn't you? So why is it, I'm going to answer, do the media fear Boris Johnson so much that they will do everything in their power to smear him to death, as he looks certain to win the Tory leadership election and become Prime Minister? Well, to start off, let's talk about why they might not be doing this out of fear. Boris has always been seen largely as a cartoonish, lovable buffoon.
It's about the cash for peerages.
It is. It's shocking.
It is shocking. It is
I mean,
shocking.
it's certainly not something you lot would do.
I'm not aware that David Cameron's...
You're not aware of anything, Mark.
I think it's a bit early for you to start in on me on this show, Ian.
But of course, on the left and also on the right, a lot of them hate him and see it as a charade, rather than genuine eccentricity. So immediately, one can say that they simply don't take him seriously. They don't respect him enough to give him the rather extremely positive media coverage that someone like Rory Stewart was receiving. He'd always been a bit of a punching bag. None of this is any different. They would have done the same to most of the candidates. And you would be right. However, what separates Johnson from the rest of the Tory candidates is his popularity in pretty much every stratum of British society, his charisma and what he espouses. That is something already that the media will find very hard to deal with. It is known that Boris has the ability to turn a hostile room into a friendly room just by the power of being Boris. Not only that, the character he portrays to the public, whether real or genuine, is something that is endearing to a lot of British people. So it makes sense that they need to change that. Hence why they have come out recently with a media frenzy over his apparent domestic dispute with his girlfriend. In this media cycle, the media is trying to pass off Boris, without actually saying it, as a domestic abuser. This is designed purely to ruin his reputation and standing among the Conservative voters in the leadership election and the public. It is engineering an environment of hostility so that all the public will get is negative stories about him, kind of like what they are doing to Trump. Already, left-wing politicians are trying to present him as a racist and a homophobe.
I think amongst the selectorate, so the Tory members, he is unbeatable. But I would also say that he is deplorable. He is fueled by racism. He's fueled by homophobia.
Despite the fact he has always been for gay marriage and equal rights, and despite what they say when he called burqas letterboxes, that's not racism because Islam is not a race. Now what about what he espouses? Let's just use two policies from the BBC election profile as just a quick example. On Brexit, I quote, wants to leave on 31st of October, the deadline for Brexit set by the EU, with or without a deal. He admits a no-deal exit will cause some disruption, but says the way to get a good deal is to prepare for no deal. Wants to remove the backstop from any deal and replace it with alternative arrangements. Says he would withhold the £39 billion divorce payment the UK is due to give the EU as part of the negotiated deal. He says the money will be retained until there is greater clarity about the way forward. So there's something that would scare the remainder media already. And finally, health and education. He promises to raise spending on secondary school pupils to £5,000 each. Called the funding gap between some schools and cities compared to those in rural areas a disturbing reality. As previously said, money spent on the EU could be put into NHS. Again, in regards to the Brexit link, they've always attacked the free money we would get from not donating to the EU every year going into the NHS. They claim it has never happened. Well, yeah, it hasn't, because Brexit hasn't happened yet. We'll find out when it happens. We all know deep down that Boris, like most of the politicians in Westminster, are careerists. Yes, they have their pet issues, passions, causes that they may hold dear to themselves, if they have them at all. But by and large, as career politicians, they are de facto Machiavellians, which means, in the traditional sense of the word, they aspire to be effective politicians and leaders doing whatever it takes to gain and hold on to power. Boris Johnson, if you're going to go by this careerist profile, which we know he most likely is, will entertain the idea of no-deal Brexit, populist ideas, and anti-PC rhetoric if it gets him to the seat. Will he act on these pledges and promises? Hard to say. If he wants to hold on to power and get re-elected, he needs to act on some of them, Brexit among the most important. And I think that he is mad enough out of all the mainstream politicians in Westminster to risk a no-deal Brexit and see what happens, if he can assure he remains as PM. And that scares the media, because he would be willing to play the Trump role to enact populist laws in order to get what he wants. He's not a Bolsonaro, and he's not a Trump, but he's a similar type, a more mainstream type, and it scares them, because compared to people like Stewart, he is a Trump-like figure, and to the media, he should be destroyed. He is not an outsider like Corbyn, in the sense of being a completely left-field candidate, but he is an outsider in the sense that out of all the Conservative candidates, he's most popular, not just in the party, but outside of the party. He's got a slight populist bent, and is unrepentant in a lot of things he said in the past, particularly in regards to his social views. He's a blunt figure, a careerist, he can play the game, and that is enough to send them into panic stations. Moreover, just look at how he's learned from the 2016 election. He expected someone like Gove, a 100% pure careerist, amoral politician, to back him. He didn't, and ran against him. He's now learnt his lesson and outmanoeuvred everyone by using his bigger support base to tactically vote and remove key opposition. That is, if you believe the tactical voting allegations. Regardless, this is not a buffoon, this is an intelligent politician who, if given the right cabinet, stocked full of the likes of Dominic Raab and others, etc. The more hardliners when it comes to Brexit and cultural and social issues, people who have the capacity and resolve to reverse the progressivisation of the United Kingdom, will be in good stead, as Boris is not an ideas man, he's a seller of ideas. And perhaps this latter phrase is so important. He's a seller of ideas. He's got charisma in droves, he's got excellent rhetorical skills, and the media knows he is miles better than anyone they can support. If he can sell to the public an anti-globalist, anti-progressive message, and also appeal by actually addressing real issues, like the problems of inner city crime, Islam, censorship, etc. No wonder they fear him so much. That is, of course, if he gets the right cabinet persuading him what is best for his prime ministership. Anyway, that's all I have for now, so until next time, I'll see you later.